Hello, Reporter Room investigators. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't joined the Reporter Room family, please do like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe. Come on in, come on in. Today we're going to be talking about the Sebastian Rogers case, you guys. There has been a lot of new information coming out. Some of it's good, some of it's not good. So come on in. Please share this on your socials. And you guys, so we're going to be talking today about Chris and Katie Proudfoot, Chris's latest YouTube appearance, Tony Mathis, what's really going on with him, and the blackmailing of Trevor Lee. Are you watching closely? So please allow me to CYA myself. Everything I'm sharing is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So let me just move myself out of the way here. Just want to show my disclaimer. There it is. And let's go, you guys. I have a lot to unpack. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages plus a video for you guys. So we have a lot to unpack. Please share this on your socials because I think the powers that be are going to try to do everything they can to deboost this video. That's just my opinion.
You wake up every day angry.
Sebastian, he is...
like to say to whoever has my children that they please. We just hoping that he...
functioning autistic.
happy and alive.
Wherever you are, just know that we are not going to stop.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Okay, so we have a lot to unpack here. So much stuff. I hope I can get through everything in the time that we have allotted. So Chris and Katie Proudfoot were caught on camera, and we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to dig into the blackmail of Trevor Lee in just a moment, so please stay with me. But they were caught on camera shopping at a local bike shop. This was a motorcycle for very expensive looking bikes. Some people defended them, saying they were going to be riding at the bike rally yesterday. So I left it alone. I didn't bring it up again, but they were not there. They also did not attend the prayer vigil. So I want to think the very best of people, but the fact that they didn't show up for any of the 3 prayer vigils for Sebastian or the bike rally, and I'm going to talk about the blackmail in just a second, so please stay with me. So I want to go back to what happened the other night on Smiley's for a second, because I need to go through this to just make this make sense for you guys, okay? Let me grab this. Okay, let me take this down and share this instead. All right. So this was this was Smiley's channel, and I'm not going to play the video or anything like that. I just want to show you guys something really quick so you can understand why I think there is blackmail involved and what is really going on here. So come on in, tell me where you're from. I do want to be social. I am going to check in with chat and let me just say hello really quick, because I don't want to be, it is social media. So welcome. This is our head mod, and Jazz, our other head mod, is 6 Cents Amelia. I don't see her today. Hey, Cheryl. Come on in, you guys. This gives a chance for people to get in here too. So come on in, you guys, and say hello. Tell me where you're from, and please give it the thumbs up on the way in so YouTube knows this is not that this is a wholesome video. I do want to remind everybody that we are looking for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. I want to just get back to Sebastian a little bit here. He is a 15-year-old autistic young man, and he disappeared from inside his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee on February the 26th. So we're going to dig into all of this. So hi, Deborah. Hey, Kathy. Hi, Memphis. Granny's Life, it's good to see you. Hey, Brother Mike. Thank you to our mods, to our channel members. Hey, DM, did you have a good birthday yesterday? I hope so. We have a lot of news to unpack, you guys, but I'm just like, I'm a little bit anxious about sharing it, but I'm going to share it anyway because I think it's important. I just really do. You guys know I went there in the Alex Murdaugh case. I was willing to dig into some stuff, and I'm willing to go there now too. Hi, Diane and Elaine and Larry and Marcia. Good to see you guys. So come on in. I'm really glad you guys are here. Tell me where you're from, and please feel free to bring your questions as I dig into this, because we have a lot of important information. Hey, Julie. Hey, Brother Mike. I'm glad you guys are here. I feel better just knowing you guys are here. I feel some comfort with that. Okay, so California till Saturday, then back. Oh, wow. Tennessee. So this is all going down in your backyard, Larry and Kim. Hi, Camille. So I'm a little bit nervous to go into this, but I am just going to go ahead. Thank you so much, Brother Mike. For those of you that don't know, I'm trying to raise money for a new computer. So thank you so much for that. And I just want to go into this. Okay, so let's talk about what happened a little bit. I have to give you this little overview. Some of you may know, but you may not know what direction I'm going with this, but not everybody on my channel knows about this, okay? So I just have to give this little overview so you can understand when I'm talking about the blackmail, exactly what I'm talking about. So we're going to go back to Smiley's world. Seth had a meltdown, which I already put out a video. But look at this. I want to tell you what I think happened. Look at this account that just sort of popped up here. And I was watching allegedly with Brittany last night, and she showed this. So we have Seth comes on, and we learn from Smiley that she was, dropped a link for Trevor Lee, and Seth came on, and she wanted him to come on too, I think. But Seth completely lost it here. And then we had Tony Mathis sort of pop in behind Seth. And I just showed you that account. I almost have to let it play through.
Mic drop.
There, right there.
Smile around and find out.
Let me back it up 1 second. Right there.
To me, it
For
came
1
as an
second.
absolute shock.
Right before, right here. It's right here when Trevor comes on. So let me just play it through.
Smiley, I'm sorry, hon. I don't know who you are.
And Tony comes on to tell Smiley that he doesn't know who Smiley is. I'm not buying it. I'm going to tell you why.
I don't know whose profile that is, but it's not mine. I've been with Seth all day.
I don't believe that either.
I didn't say.
We're on social media. Everybody has a phone. You can get on somebody's chat.
You were
from
coming
anywhere.
on my channel.
Somebody was out there saying that we were coming on the panel.
But just wait, you guys.
That Tony said that we were coming on. We've been out here riding around all day.
Just watch.
Checking out places for searching and everything else.
Oh, okay. So I got like almost 1,700 people in here.
I love Smiley, by the way. She's great.
Mic drop. Sorry about that.
And
To me, it came as an absolute shock that this man, I can't even call him a man, that this individual would sit there and lie to my face and then sit there and put out lies to begin with. And now he want to go out there whenever I'm in a podcast or whatnot and Nothing about Sebastian. No, nothing about my son. All about Chloe and her little clique. When I asked her to step back, she took almost all the searchers with them. And now people are like, oh, it was like a slap to my face. They don't know why I asked her to step back. But I asked her to step back because she's a private investigator trying to be a SAR person.
Wait for it.
You need to get out of the field and get back to doing private investigation, which she wasn't doing. She wanted to vet everybody. Like everybody. Like, I want to know, what size foot they were when they were born. And it's like, I will accept help from anybody to find my son. And people are taking my good-hearted.
There it is. Okay. So all of a sudden, this account pops up, Chris, right? Chris, is this Chris Proudfoot? So this is what I think happened. This is why I just wanted to show you. It only pops up for a second and then it's taken down. But if you look at the background where Seth is, you guys looking at the same thing I am? Yeah. Okay. If you're looking at the background where Seth is, right here, and then you're looking at the background, you can see the tree. Okay. This Chris Proudfoot account, I thought, well, maybe this is Chris Proudfoot. He's with Seth. No, that's not. Tony Mathis was in the chat. So this is what I think happened. I want to explain this so I can explain the blackmail in just a second. So I'm not going to talk about Seth's meltdown. I completely understand. He's under a lot of stress. So who was in there? But I showed you the part where Tony pops on to tell Smiley he doesn't know about her channel. He's not familiar with her. He wasn't in her chat earlier. I don't believe that. I think he was in the chat. And I think he was also in the chat trolling as Chris Proudfoot, Tony Mathis. So because that account, and I think what Tony was going to do, because he, Seth isn't allowed to talk on people's shows anymore unless Tony Mathis is holding his hand and giving him hand signals and telling him what to say, right? Seth isn't allowed to speak for himself. And I just have to say, I think Seth was doing just fine prior to Tony Mathis. I think he was doing a good job. He was very, very, very helpful in advocating for Sebastian. So who is really posing? Was Chris Proudfoot in the chat? I don't think so. Or was this somebody posing as Chris Proudfoot? And I think it was Tony Mathis. Tony Mathis wants to get on camera. He pops in to tell Smiley he doesn't know who she is. I don't buy that. But maybe, I don't think so though. I think because she said that he was in her chat. He denies it, says he doesn't know who she is. But then we have this account, Chris, that pops up. And people thought Chris Proudfoot was in the chat too. And I think it was Tony. I think he forgot he was logged in. And I give credit to Allegedly with Brittany on this. He forgot he was logged in as Tony Mathis. He forgot he was logged in as Tony Mathis and was about to join the chat and pops in for a second, except he's logged in as Chris, right? So he cannot do that. And I have to explain this to you so you guys can understand the blackmail. Okay. So I just wanted to show you this. And you look at the tree, you look at the background, it looks very similar. Seth comes back in a second. Let me just show you this. Okay, so you can see the background, you can see the trees, same weather, same tree. That's the same tree, same foliage, same weather, same skies as what I showed you a second ago with the Chris account. So I just wanted to show you that because I think that's really important in what I'm about to share next. So let me just put this on and go to this next little part. So we already talked about Chris and Katie didn't show up. Okay, so let's just stop here for a second. So then Seth and Tony sort of pops in behind Seth, right? So then Seth launches into this whole tirade, right, on Trevor Lee. Now, if you don't know who Trevor Lee is, he advocated and searched really hard in the Summer Wells case. He's local there in Tennessee. I don't know where exactly he lives, but he's in Tennessee, the state. And he has done nothing but advocate for Sebastian and Chloe. And, he was just advocating with Chloe. All Chloe wanted to do was do background checks on the people who were searching with her because she has a license to protect, a PI license. Okay, so I think Tony was not telling the truth when he said that he wasn't in Smiley's chat earlier. Tells her it wasn't me. I'm not buying this. I think Tony was in Smiley's chat, and I think he's gaslighting her, in my opinion. And I just showed you why, and it makes sense when we talk about the blackmail in just a second. So is Tony working to drive a wedge between Seth and every person that he can, including Trevor Lee, including PI Chloe? So I think Tony's getting his hooks into Seth and doing what a very manipulative person does, which is to try to control them. And I think Seth is very vulnerable right now. He's not in his, normal home. He's come out to this area to search for Sebastian. And so he probably doesn't have his usual support system. He's not going to work. We have his normal friends at work to support him. And I'm going to talk about the blackmail and how this all went down. So that account Chris pops up, and I think it was Tony posing as Chris Proudfoot. And I also think that this recording of Chris Proudfoot was leaked in an orchestrated attempt to dirty up Chris Proudfoot. And it worked, and I'm not saying Chris Proudfoot doesn't deserve to be dirtied up. He said what he said in that recorded call. But I just want to, so Smiley drops a link. She had dropped the link for Trevor Lee. Seth grabs it and comes up also. She wanted Seth to come up. Seth was welcome. And then Tony tries to grab it, in my opinion. And this is where he was posing in the chat as Chris. So now we have Tony popping on, telling us that he doesn't know who Smiley is, that he wasn't in her chat earlier as Tony. And I'm just not buying this. I think he would have known who Smiley was because she did an interview with Chris and Katie Proudfoot. Tony knew exactly who she was, in my opinion. And I believe he was in the chat trying to get himself onto her show. So, but instead, Seth comes on and he's been gaslit, in my opinion, by Tony against Trevor Lee and PI Chloe. Let me know what you think about all of this. If you believe that Tony gaslit Seth, put a 1 in the chat. If you believe Seth wound himself up on his own, put a 2 in the chat. I just want to see if so then Seth starts going off on Trevor Lee, and I'm not going to play that part because I have a video up on that if you want to see it. And then we see this, and we see this, that Chris account come up, and I do think that Tony was planning to troll Smiley's chat, posing as Chris Proudfoot. I think he was already doing it. I think he wants the spotlight. We've now learned that he was trying to inject himself into the Idaho 4 case back in 2022. And then he latched onto the Caleb Harris case in an effort to try to get national attention. And that when that didn't give him the national attention that he was after, he jumped onto Sebastian's case. And Seth was very vulnerable and is very vulnerable. So Seth's not allowed to appear by himself anymore. Tony has to be there giving him hand signals and holding his hand and telling Seth what he's allowed to say and what he's not allowed to say. But I think he was about to hop onto Smiley's thing because, he loves a camera, Tony does. So he was going to jump on there and say his bit, except when he popped up, he suddenly realized he was still under the Chris Proudfoot account and he couldn't jump on. So I think this is very, very manipulative, but it gets worse, you guys. So Tony has multiple felonies, and I believe everybody deserves a second chance, but he got felonies for financial crimes, including writing 3 bad checks. Now, to be a felony, it has to be a pretty high amount. I'm telling you this because it all plays into the blackmail that we're going to talk about in just a second. So Tony didn't just didn't write a bad check once. He didn't just do it twice. He did it multiple times. He has 3 felonies. These are the 3 times he got caught that law enforcement can prove. It doesn't mean these are the only times that he did it, because we all know that people don't get convicted for every crime that they now. So to me, this shows his integrity, in my opinion. I believe people can change, but I also believe that when people show you who they are, you should believe them. And everything about Tony to me is, and the way that Seth has been getting rid of all the good people around him since Tony came on the scene, I really am worried about Seth. So let's talk about the blackmail. Okay, let's talk about the blackmail. Okay, so after this whole tirade where Seth comes on, and I believe he was gaslit into doing this. Seth comes on and he has just completely ruined the reputation of, or tried to ruin the reputation of Trevor Lee, blaming him falsely for the email leaks, right? For the email leaks, he's saying that it was him. But Josh from the lab was also on the show. And he says he's the one that leaked it. So I think this is, so Josh from the lab takes responsibility for all of this. But get this. Okay, so then Trevor goes on to, so Seth has his meltdown. Tony pops in, and I believe that Tony is that Chris account that popped up. I believe he was in the chat posing as Chris Proudfoot, which is just another level of master manipulation, in my opinion. So there he is. He doesn't want to not be in the shot. He doesn't want to not be on it. So he has to pop in behind Seth because, you know. So then this is Trevor Lee. He's the one on your right-hand side, and Josh from the lab is on your left-hand side. So then Trevor goes on to Josh's show right after this. And let me just say, and I'm going to show you receipts of why I think Trevor's telling the truth. This is why I stood with Trevor, because I think getting falsely accused of something on television is just next level diabolical. So let's talk about this blackmail. So Josh from the lab, Josh knows where he got this voice recording of Chris Proudfoot from. He knows who he got it from. He knows why. But when he wanted to share a little bit of information on Smiley's channel, and Seth tells him that, oh no, that's off the record. He can't share that. So he doesn't. But he knows it's not Trevor. So Josh invites Trevor Lee to come over to his channel after they're done on Smiley's channel, and Trevor Lee tells Josh that Tony Mathis has been blackmailing him since the audio leak of Chris Proudfoot. And I'm going to show you the receipts to help prove what Trevor Lee is saying. So let me just check in with chat really quick, and then I'm going to show you guys the receipts on this to just show you why I believe this is true. I just want to show you some receipts to back this up of the blackmail. Blackmail is against the law. And I believe Trevor. I believe Trevor. Put a 1 in the chat if you think that Tony was gaslighting. Put a 2 in the chat if you think Seth wound himself up himself. I'm just curious where you guys are at on this. Stormcat says she didn't know about Tony. Yeah. And Delina says she feels bad for Seth. Halfway says, I'm thinking it's him using the voice changer, in my opinion. No, I think that recording was Chris Proudfoot. I'm not saying the recording is fake. The recording is Chris Proudfoot. And I believe it is Chris Proudfoot. But the fact that Trevor was being blackmailed. Is just a next level diabolical. And I'm going to show you the receipts in just a second. Please give this a thumbs up. Help me out with the algorithm, you guys. Because you know who is going to be not happy about this. Is it wise for you to be hanging out with a felon when you're law enforcement? No, of course. And if you have a private investigator license to protect, that's even more concerning. And I'm not saying most people, that people that are not everybody should have a second chance. I so believe this. I really believe that people that have had a felony conviction should have a second chance. But this guy, and we gave Tony a second chance. Okay, we did give him a second chance. I don't know if they should have a second chance at the expense of Sebastian Rogers and at the expense of Seth Rogers' mental health. I don't think he should have a second chance at the expense of Trevor Lee and Chloe, P.I. Chloe. But Seth gave it to the lab to get it out. Well, I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. Yeah, and Jazz is just asking everybody to be polite. Thanks, you guys. Sierra, thank you, and Jazz. Yeah, so okay, so Seth starts calling Trevor. Yeah, that was a little much. He starts calling Trevor boy, telling him to get off the panel. This was on Smiley's channel. I already have that out on the video, so I don't need to play that again. Okay, we're just I just wanted to just give you the context. So then Trevor goes onto the lab. Okay, so he goes onto the lab, and let's look at this statement because I want to show y'all the receipts. Let me just pop this up really quick. Okay. All right. Can you guys see this? So I did this in the Alex Murdaugh case. I was scared every time I did it. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared today. But I'm going to do it anyway because this needs to be done. This needs to be out there. I already alerted email to YouTube that I was going to be doing an expose and that to be prepared. Usually when I do something like this, I get I get all kinds of problems. So okay, so let's just go back to the one day to what Justice Warriors said. So she said, this is Heather. These are not Chloe PI. This is PI Heather and Tracy. They left the case prior to Chloe. So she is the one that is on the recording. Heather is with that the lab released. That is Chris Proudfoot and Heather. And we can hear how awful Chris is on this tape. So she said she crawled out from under a rock to offer insight into the leaked audio situation that was a topic of extremely heated conversation on Smiley's podcast last night. Truth be told, I have not been keeping up with the drama surrounding the Sebastian Rogers case. I am grieving the death of my grandmother. She said, sadly, a missing persons case. And this is important to the context of how this got leaked, who leaked it, and the blackmail. So just let me just bring this all together and tie this up in a bow for you guys. Sadly, missing person cases always have this kind of energy around them. I wish people could come together from a place of love with a common goal to figure out what happened and find the missing child. But the thought is as whimsical as unicorns and fairies. So we must learn to accept it and continue to be the light that shines in the darkness. If we succumb to hatred and negativity, we become consumed by the darkness, which snuffs out the light in our hearts. Don't let this happen. So she's a very loving, kind, and caring person, and she was the one that was on the recording. So she knows who she shared the recording with. So she said, it's unfortunate that so much time and energy has been spent focusing on this recording. I want to help you all put this to bed so that everyone can start focusing on what's important again. Let's put it to bed, and then I'm going to share with you the blackmail. 1. The audio was recorded on May 1st of 2022. On that day, I forwarded it to my assistant and 2 trusted colleagues, as well as Chloe's colleague. She was busy at the time, who forwarded it to Chloe. The reason for this was to make sure that Chloe was aware of the situation and to consult with the team about whether or not it needed to be reported to law enforcement. Because remember, Chris Proudfoot said some really scary things in relation to Chloe. 2, I never sent the audio to Seth. If I had, I would say that, but I didn't. 3, on May 9th, I received a text message informing me that the audio was leaked. The details that I had at the time were minimal. The person that I was told had leaked the call was not the first to leak it. When I learned later there were several YouTubers who had been sent the audio a few days prior. Remember, Josh said when he first in his live stream, when he first played that audio, that he was told to hold it for a couple of days. And this is why Josh knew it wasn't Trevor that leaked this. So she says, when I learned later that there were several YouTubers who had been sent the audio a few days prior and asked to hold on to it until that day, the reason for this, as I understand, was that the audio was to be used as evidence at a court hearing, and whoever sent it to the YouTubers did not want it getting out prior to the court date. After the audio leaked, I got to work trying to figure out how it leaked to be sure I didn't have a mole in my camp. So she's looking at everybody that she shared it with. She said, I even went back through my sent emails to be sure I hadn't sent it to Seth or anyone that I'd forgotten about. I did not. 5, I did not know that Seth had the audio until he called me. So let's just start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and told me that he sent it to Nina, that'll be Nina Gomez, not Nina Glass, Nina Gomez. That's the 4th wife of Chris Proudfoot, for court. And that when he told me that it was his fault, and that's when he told me that it was his fault, Seth's fault, that the call was leaked. This is why this is important, because all of this got heaped onto Trevor Lee. So that's when he told me, this is Seth, that it was his fault that the call got leaked. We're going to talk about the blackmail. I did not ask how Seth got it, Seth, because it didn't matter. I was just relieved that there was not a breach of confidentiality from someone that I had trusted. From what I understood, Seth was still trying to figure out who had sent it to the YouTubers and his mother. 6, a couple of days after the leak, I had a conversation with Tony. She's talking about Tony Mathis, in which he apologized. He informed me that Seth had expressed he wanted the audio and that neither I or Chloe would send it to him. Tony said he didn't see any reason to withhold it from him, so he sent it. Gaslighting, you guys. Gaslighting. Tony said, he said, she says he, but she's talking about Tony, said he thought it was cute that Chloe and I were trying to protect him, but that he felt that Seth should have it. So this goes back to why Seth got rid of Chloe, because he thought Chloe was withholding things from him, right? He's totally being gaslit here, in my opinion. He also said that Michaela was there and called out, just send it to my email. He was on speakerphone. So Michaela is somebody that I think is involved with as a girlfriend of either Seth or Tony. I don't know exactly who she is. It doesn't really matter. But that's what he did. Technically, it was not a leak when it was sent to Seth, because he is or was the client. And so he's the only person that is owed a duty of confidentiality. But I'm still not sure how Tony got the audio. Tony had the audio. He sent it to Seth. Who else did he send it to? At the point that the audio was entered into the court record, it became public information and would be available to anyone who now wants to utilize the Freedom of Information Act. That's a FOIA. Therefore, at the point, it would no longer be considered sensitive information. It would no longer be considered a leak. I will not be engaging in any drama, but I do hope this helps everyone to move past this. I do not agree with the way that Trevor Lee was treated last night on the podcast. I know what it's like to try to help someone and have that backfire on you. I do not believe he is responsible for the leak, and I think this has gone way too far. No good deed goes unpunished. Signed, respectfully, Heather. And then Trevor comes up. He talks to her. He says, I appreciate your continuing to share the truth and for all your work with Sebastian. You're still in my prayers following your loss. He's talking about the loss of her grandmother. Okay, so now let's talk about the blackmail. Let's talk about the blackmail, y'all. Okay, so Trevor Lee goes on to Josh the Lab and says that he was told by Tony Mathis. He was told by Tony Mathis that they were going to let everyone know that he, Trevor Lee, was the one that leaked it if he didn't stop saying negative things about Tony. So imagine how scary this would be for somebody like Trevor Lee, a young man, right? He's not 50 years old, to have the spokesperson who has a national platform for the father of a missing Sebastian Rogers come forward and threaten and blackmail him and blame him for a tape recording that Tony, in my opinion, released to the YouTubers, not Seth. So did Tony gaslight Seth into getting rid of his private investigators because he told them, well, I'm going to share this leaked audio of Chris Proudfoot with you that the PIs are withholding from you. Chloe and Heather don't want to share this with you, probably because they didn't want to get Seth upset, right? But I'm going to, and then this would have been the information that Seth would have felt like Chloe was withholding from him, right? When he's talking about this. So did Tony gaslight Seth into getting rid of his private investigators whose only crime was to want to do background checks? And who doesn't want a background check done on him? In my opinion, Tony Mathis, right? Because he has multiple felonies for financial things. And he's the one that wants to shut down Seth's GoFundMe, right? And then open up a trust. Is Tony going to sit on the board of that trust? Because if I were Seth, I would be worried. And are you watching closely? Are you watching closely? So blackmail is a crime. Blackmail is a crime. And I just want to show you. Let me take this down. I feel so bad for Trevor Lee. And I just feel like getting attacked on a live stream in front of thousands of people is just the ultimate form of humiliation. And the fact that he was being threatened if he didn't comply is really, really scary. But let me just show you, this is not legal. Okay. Blackmailing somebody in Tennessee. So what is considered blackmail? What is the legal definition? According to Tennessee Code 3. So I think this does need to be reported to law enforcement, because according to Tennessee Code 39-13-301, blackmail is defined as threatening to expose or reveal the identity of another or any material, document, secret, or other information that may cause someone to be subjected to hatred, contempt, ridicule, financial ruin, loss of social standing. And I believe loss of social standing applies here. In threatening the person, the blackmailer expects to receive money, goods, or services in exchange for their silence on damaging information. In this case, Tony expected Trevor Lee to stop getting in between him and Seth, to stop trying to tell Seth, to stop Trevor Lee from advocating for PI Chloe. So here's an example. This is a great example. Jack knows, there's nobody named Jack in this. Jack knows about Bob's extramarital affairs. Revealing this information would ruin Bob's relationship and his social status. Jack tells Bob he'll stay quiet if he pays him. That's blackmail. It's a crime. It's a crime regardless of the validity of the information used. It's a crime even if the blackmailer is threatening to reveal someone else's criminal activity. For instance, if Jack knew about Bob embezzling money at work, used for information to get hush money from Bob, rather than reporting it to law enforcement or to the workplace, this would be classified as blackmail. So some very common forms of blackmail include cyber blackmail. We saw this in the Ashley Madison case, right, where they threatened to publish all the names of everybody who used Ashley Madison. That's a new show on Netflix. That's why I thought of it. Threats of defamation, which includes ruining somebody else's reputation by spreading false information. This applies. And then they went on to Smiley's channel and literally did it. They smeared this young man. They smeared Trevor Lee. They smeared him publicly. And so this applies. This applies, in my opinion. So I just wanted to show you that. And you can see Josh here. Let me just grab this really quick. Taking responsibility, because Josh is a good guy. He knows.
Okay. Are you back?
Seth,
Okay.
we see you. We see
Now
you.
we see you.
Hey, Justin.
Hey.
Hey, Josh.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can hear you.
Listen,
Miss
to this, you
Smiley,
guys.
first of all, I did not mean to disrespect your channel and your panel. But I have been dealing with him, as in Trevor Lee, for a minute. All right.
Trevor Lee is not Seth's problem, but I don't believe Seth understands this or knows this at this point.
And for the disrespect, the distrust, and the betrayal that I feel at this gentleman sitting there backing up a PI who refused to actually do PI stuff for me like I asked her to. And for her to turn around and give him the audio file that got blamed on me for leaking.
He gave it to Tony. Somebody gave it to Tony, and it wasn't anybody on Heather's team. So yeah. But who leaked it? Not Trevor Lee.
Which
Watch
I don't care.
Josh here. Watch
I've
Josh
got
here, you
juicier
guys.
ones. More juicier ones.
Yeah, but Seth, that
All
was
right.
me.
Did you hear that? Josh Josh knows who sent him the file. He can't say because he's agreed not to say, but he says, but that's me.
Test.
All right, can you hear me now?
I did not mean to disrespect your channel and your
Listen
panel,
to Josh here, you guys.
but I have been dealing with him, as in Trevor Lee, for a minute. All right. And for the disrespect, the distrust, and the betrayal that I feel at this gentleman.
Oh, and just as a side note, look at the background behind Seth, and then go back and look at the image I showed you of the Chris Proudfoot account, the Chris account. Same skies, same trees, same weather.
And sitting there backing up a PI who refused to actually do PI stuff for me like I asked her to. And for her to turn around and give him the audio file that got blamed on me for leaking, which I don't care. I've got juicier ones. More juicier ones.
Yeah, but Seth, that was me.
But Seth, that's me. So in my opinion, Josh is falling on his sword here. He understands who leaked this to him. It'd just be so easy to set up a sock puppet email account and email this audio out to a couple of content creators. Wink, wink. Hold it for me till this day. Hold it for a couple days. Because when Josh released it during the live stream, he even tells us during that live stream where he released that audio, he tells us, I went back and watched everything again, you guys, just to like piece this all together for myself and for you guys. So he tells us that he wasn't even sure he was going to release it. He sat on it. He wasn't sure because I think Josh was worried at the time that he was being manipulated. And I think Josh is putting the pieces together right now. First of all, he knows Trevor didn't do it. I don't think he knew about that Trevor was getting blackmailed about it. But he knew that Trevor did not share this, that it came from, in my opinion, Tony Mathis.
No, I did my own research, Josh. It wasn't you. It was out. Literally, somebody sent it to my mom. Somebody sent it to my mom. All right. Yeah. My mom heard this before you guys even did. I sure in the hell didn't send no audio file to my mom. You know, she's got enough stress on her plate with her grandchild missing.
I believe him. I think Tony sent it. Let's listen to Josh because he knows.
I got enough stress on my plate with my son missing. And no, I'm at Beach High School and there is no Christopher Proudfoot here. Nowhere. Like literally nowhere.
I believe that too. I believe Christopher Proudfoot's not there because I think it was the other person that's with Seth, Tony Mathis, who was trolling in Smiley's chat, posing as Chris Proudfoot, saying whatever he wanted to say, pretending to be Chris Proudfoot. This is my opinion.
Yeah, all right. I think it was someone messing. I think it was a troll.
And I apologize, Smiley, because I have nothing but love for you ever since the first time I came on your chat. But when I find a snake that's hiding in here and sitting there doing nothing but harm.
And sadly, he has not found the snake. Josh knows. Josh knows at this point. So listen to this exchange coming up because Josh wants to say how he got. Josh wants to tell us, and Seth won't let him.
To me, trying to find my son, it does get me riled up.
Listen,
he gets me riled up because my son's been gone for over 80 days and I can't find. And people just don't understand what it's like to have your kid missing. I ain't getting nowhere. I'm getting nothing from.
And I do have empathy and sympathy for Seth. I do believe he's vulnerable to being gaslit, and I think that this person has entered the case and is very interested in doing whatever he has to do to get control of the case, get this trust set up. Why couldn't Seth just have his GoFundMe? If some people didn't want to donate, fine, don't donate. But why couldn't he just have his GoFundMe?
Sumner County. And it makes me wonder if there's other kids in this county that are missing that Sumner County ain't even looking for. If it's not just my kid. There could be hundreds of kids missing, and they're not doing their job, and it makes me scared for every one of my son's classmates. All right? I am at my wit's end. I have gone so long.
Wait for it.
At my house, walking into my house, seeing my son's room empty. He's not playing video games with people give me shit about. You know what? People are going to give me shit because I let my son experience certain things, like playing video games and not having somebody breathing down on him, tell him you can't be on, you can't play video games because maybe you'll talk to somebody. I had conversations with my son. He didn't even use the headphones.
And in watching Josh here, that's who I'm focused on right now, is Josh from the lab, who's in your lower left-hand corner. Watch him, because he's figuring it out. Josh is putting the pieces together, in my opinion, right now.
You can't talk to anybody if you don't got the headphones in. It's a PlayStation 4. It ain't no PlayStation 5 with built-in stuff. I don't own a PlayStation 5.
So Josh,
people giving me shit because I want my son.
Josh is going to try to say what he knows, and Seth won't let him. Listen.
Stuff back. They took his stuff. That's all I have. It needs to be back in his room for when we find him and he comes home. Things are in the same place that they were when he left. Nobody seems to understand. I love my son. I miss my son. And I'm trying to find him. I'm out here today looking. Chloe kept me away from search areas. Plenty of search areas. Had people babysitting me because she didn't want me to find my kid. Well, we don't want you to come across his deceased corpse. Well,
of course she doesn't. Because she cares about him. But this has all been twisted into somehow this is negative. And it started with this recording that Chloe and Heather didn't give him because they knew it was going to make Seth feel upset. It was going to make Seth, but they were.
I'll tell you what, that's some type of closure. Me, I want to come across my son alive and well.
Tony gave it to Seth and used it to gaslight Seth into getting rid of Chloe, the PI who wanted to do background checks on everybody, including Tony Mathis, who did not want a background check done. And you can see Josh, he's putting the pieces together. Just wait for it because he tries to say the truth and Seth shuts him down.
All right. But still, to sit there and tell me that you're going to run this is my show because it's my son. And nobody's going to sit there and tell me that I can't participate trying to find my kid. All right. I communicate with TBI. If I go somewhere, they already know 2 days in advance. So that way they know where I'm going, because I'd be damned if someone's going to tell me not to go there. I contact TBI. I have everything recorded in chats, text messages, so they know my whereabouts. They know my locations, because if I am somewhere, they want me to call them if I find something. Sure. And every time I go search and I don't have anything to show for it afterwards, you have no idea how it feels deep down inside that I failed to find my son.
And I do believe that Seth is genuinely upset, but I also believe that he has been gaslit into getting rid of Chloe, and to find out that Trevor Lee was being blackmailed by Tony Mathis not to reveal this. This needs, in my opinion, to be reported to law enforcement.
Which means I failed to find him again. People want to sit there. I've got balls. I just don't need to fucking show my nuts to everybody. I just got to find my son. It's not about this shit. I am not fucking Christopher. I saw it. I didn't want it to be a public display. I didn't want to see the shit come out like this. So I asked her, but certain people won't let it go.
You can see Josh trying to talk here.
Keep poking the bear.
I
Keep
know.
poking the bear,
Seth,
and you're gonna see.
Seth,
I'm a bear.
Before you go, I want to
What's
say
up, Josh?
you do what you do what you're doing. Keep looking for your son. I disagree about Trevor. I think he's a wonderful kid, a young man. I really do. And I think that
there's a misunderstanding somewhere.
I think that you think that
I
too.
understand, Josh. I just think somebody got their hands into the kid and it's changed him a little bit.
But he's a good.
He needs.
Nope.
He's a
and-
special guy.
Somebody got their hands into Trevor Lee. Tony Mathis did, telling him that if he didn't stop saying negative things about Tony, that he was going to blame this leak of Chris Proudfoot's audio tape onto Trevor Lee. I believe that happened. And Josh was one of the recipients of that audio.
You know what? He really is.
Yes.
Can I ask you?
But it's not about Trevor. It's not. It's about
Right.
you finding.
About Sebastian.
Right.
But I do have to say that I love Trevor a lot. And I think that he's a great human. And, I think there's a lot of pressure. And I know that what you're going through is hell. You and I had that conversation.
So Josh is trying to split the baby here. He's just trying to say, let's be reasonable, because he knows he didn't get that recording of Chris Proudfoot from Trevor Lee. He knows that it came from Tony Mathis. Probably, I just feel like he was putting the pieces together. This is my opinion.
I want you to keep looking and do what you're doing, but just know that we do care. And Trevor is a part of the team. I'm part of my team. He always has been, and he'll never not be.
I'm not asking you to tell him to vacate your team.
I know that.
What he needs to understand is that I can't have him around my team.
Fair enough.
Because my team, I see what's going on, and whether he realizes it or not, he's being manipulated.
And sadly, Trevor was getting pressured, and Tony was trying to manipulate him, in my opinion. Don't get in between Seth and me. Don't get in between me and the camera. Don't get in between me and the national stage that I want by having a private investigator do a background check on me. Don't do any of that. Don't do that, or I'm going to tell everybody that you leaked that tape. That's blackmail. That's a crime. But listen, because the lab, Josh wants to share something, because he knows Josh is putting the pieces together while they're sitting there on the stage. He knows something's wrong.
And the person that's doing this isn't going to suffer. Instead, I'm suffering.
I believe that too. I believe Seth is suffering. But the person that's doing this is not Trevor Lee. It's Tony Mathis, in my opinion.
Instead, Trevor's suffering. Instead, they got me sitting there baring my teeth at Trevor Lee. And Trevor Lee don't want to back down. Probably the wrong thing.
Of course he doesn't want to back down. Why would he want to have his reputation ruined by the father of on a national stage of a missing Sebastian Rogers? He doesn't want to have his reputation ruined, but it didn't stop Tony Mathis from trying, did it? In my opinion.
I'm looking for my son.
I know. That's all I wanted to say.
That's the main goal.
That's all I wanted to say.
It's about Sebastian. That's all it should be about.
It's all it is for me. It's all about people complained about my GoFundMe. Well, I told my sister to shut it down 2 weeks ago.
So I think that this is why Josh went ahead and had Trevor Lee come on to his show. And let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. Let me grab it. Here we go. Can you guys see it? It's coming up.
With it, I was surprised to hear that Tony was still blaming you for it. I was very surprised about that.
So this is Josh, the lab. You can see I'm subscribed to Smiley, and Josh, I hope you guys will subscribe as well. And this is that's who's on your left side, and then on your right is Trevor Lee, who is a very young man. Can you imagine being called out in a live stream with thousands of people watching, right? Almost 2,000 people were in the chat, by the spokesperson for a missing Sebastian Rogers for something you did not do. So Josh knew he had that audio, right? He knew he didn't get it from Trevor.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I think part of it was by Tony in retaliation to me disagreeing about their decision to drop Chloe. So full disclosure, for those who've been watching the case, there have been 2 private investigators on the case. Heather with her firm, and then Chloe had been working just as herself. And they recently let go of Chloe. Heather is off the case now as well, was prior to, but Chloe was let go the other day. And I told Tony I disagree with the decision. Chloe's a friend of mine. I've seen her do great work on many of cases, including this one. And simply, I just said I disagreed with the decision. And Tony was upset with me saying that and told me basically he knows I leaked the call and made it very clear that I was basically going to be the fall person for the call.
That's blackmail. Listen to it one more time. Don't take my word for it. That is the very definition. I just showed you the definition of blackmail. If you're just joining me, back up the chat a little bit. I showed you guys the legal definition of it. This fits the legal definition of blackmail.
And I know Seth said, well, it's not because of that. Somebody else leaked it here. Look, you said you didn't leak it to whoever they have said that you leaked it to. You said it wasn't you. And I believe you 110%. I trust you as much as anybody, Trevor. I really do. So I want to make sure that people understand that. The audio apparently, because I remember I was like, who has this? How many people have this? And we had no idea, Right. So I talked to Seth about it. We agreed on a certain day. And
so he talked to Seth about the audio and they agreed on a certain day. Did you hear that? Josh talked to Seth Rogers about the audio and they agreed on a certain day of when this audio of Chris Proudfoot was going to be released.
I went forward with it. I was surprised to hear that Tony was still blaming you for it. I was very surprised about that. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I think part of it was by Tony in retaliation to me disagreeing about their decision to drop Chloe. So full disclosure, for those who've been watching the case, there have been 2 private investigators on the case. Heather with her firm, and then Chloe had been working just as herself. And they recently let go of Chloe. Heather is off the case now as well, was prior to, but Chloe was let go the other day. And I told Tony I disagree with the decision. Chloe's a friend of mine. I've seen her do great work on many of cases, including this one. And simply, I just said I disagreed with the decision. And Tony was upset with me saying that and told me basically he knows I leaked the call and made it very clear that I was basically going to be the fall person for the call.
That's blackmail. And why doesn't Tony want Chloe? Because Chloe was insisting on doing background checks on everybody. He doesn't want a background check done by Chloe.
Getting out. And then I more recently got a message just earlier today that was supposed to be delivered to me that sent to somebody to tell me that basically if I said anything more about Tony publicly, that like Chloe and I would both be exposed online, which is what was quote unquote done tonight by saying we put that audio out. But
so if they told anybody they were going to be exposed, that is the definition of blackmail.
Getting out.
That is the legal definition.
And then I more recently got a message just earlier today that was supposed to be delivered to me that sent to somebody to tell me that basically if I said anything more about Tony publicly, that like Chloe and I would both be exposed online, which is what was quote unquote done tonight by saying we put that audio out.
And there you have it. Blackmail, blackmail, blackmail. So this is the same guy who told us all this. If you think he has credibility, that's fine. I don't think he does. I don't like what he did to Trevor. But this is the same guy that got up on and told us all.
So we
this.
had 3 new bits of information come in between last night and midday today. The first one was last night, which was we got evidence that showed that Sebastian was texting Katie's mom the night before he went missing. Nothing really significant or deep. He was texting her, but, you know, we were led to believe that there wasn't really any communication between them.
This is absolutely a lie. Katie Proudfoot's mom was not texting with Sebastian Rogers. This is nonsense. A bold-faced lie.
He was texting her about what a great breakfast he had had. I mean, it was all positive stuff.
Was that from his phone directly?
Correct.
Okay.
And then, so then on top of that, we got information that there's actual video footage of Sebastian from the 26th.
This is also a lie.
Which was much bigger. But then probably the biggest thing, in my opinion, that we got was that law enforcement had a theory the first 72 hours. And after that first 72 hours, their theory took a 180-degree turn, which I thought was huge.
I don't even know if I believe that. So these are the claims that he's making. This is absolute nonsense. First, that law enforcement had footage of Sebastian Rogers on February 26th, and they have not released any of the information of this footage, and that they had this footage from the start. Not true. Nick Barris came out and debunked Tony Mathis, and then Tony decided that he was going to attack Nick Barris. So that's one lie that we just you watched it come out of Tony's mouth. 2, Sebastian was communicating with Katie Proudfoot's mother the night he went missing. This sounds really bad, doesn't it? Also, not true. Nick Barris also debunked that. And then I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't believe it in light of everything else that I'm learning. Law enforcement had a theory that the first 72 hours, and then their theory did a 180, meaning kidnapped. You know, are you watching closely? Because nothing is what it appears to be. Nothing is what it appears to be, you guys. They tried to ruin, Tony Mathis was willing to ruin Trevor Lee's reputation as an advocate for missing children, because that might have gotten in the way of him and the national stage. And he's been trying to get on the national stage since the Idaho 4 case. He was trying to get entree through the family members in the Idaho 4 case back in 2022. Then he got on the Caleb Harris train and tried to ride that onto the national stage and got some exposure, but that case didn't go national. And then he saw Seth Rogers, who was alienated from his work colleagues and his friends because he had come into town to search for Sebastian, right? He's trying to find his son. He's in a very vulnerable person. He's a very vulnerable person at this point. And he latched on, in my opinion, to Seth Rogers, and then got in there and got between Seth Rogers and his private investigators. First, Heather and Tracy, got rid of them. Then, oh, Seth, you're not being told everything. And I know this goes back to that same audio recording, which I believe that Tony gave it to Seth. Seth had it. You saw the video I just played of the lab where Josh says Seth had it. I showed you the receipts from Heather from Justice Warriors that she didn't leak it to Seth, that it was Tony that gave it. So then Seth is gaslit into believing that Chloe's withholding stuff from him because she didn't give him this audio recording. And then he blackmails Trevor Lee because Trevor Lee was another person that Seth probably trusted and who deserved to be trusted. But he was getting in the way of Tony and his national spotlight that he wanted. And then we get these just bold-faced nonsense lies from the spokesperson of a missing Sebastian Rogers case, claiming that Katie Proudfoot's mother was texting with Sebastian. And then that has to be debunked. So let me just show you that really quick. Let me grab that for you. And then I do have something I want to share with you about the Proudfoots right after this. But let me just go to Nick. Because he debunks Tony's claims that I just played for you. Let me find his post really quick. Because I just want to just show you the receipts, guys, because you deserve credible information. And of course, everybody and their uncle has been showing this. Nick Barris has been putting out fires the whole time, and I'm getting everything except like the most recent post. Let me just see. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. I should have had that one queued up for you guys. Okay, so I just want to show you all the receipts, guys, because I want you to have all of the information so you can make up your own mind of what you think happened here. So this is Nick Barris. He is a local journalist. Those of you that have been with Reporter Room for a while know I like to use local sources because they have great relationships with law enforcement. So more rumors run rampant. He said, I appreciate the fact that so many of you continue to show interest in the Sebastian Rogers case, and you message me with questions. The 15-year-old autistic young man has been missing for more than 2 months from his Hendersonville, Tennessee home, vanished, not a trace found. Despite massive search efforts, authorities say there's no evidence of foul play, though they have not ruled it out. And in the absence of any new developments, armchair detectives on social media and podcasts have created their own fiction. That's the only part I disagree with. This did not come from podcasters. This came from the spokesperson. I just played it for you, Tony Mathis. He says, I appreciate your contacting me. So what are the latest couple of doozies? So these are directly put out. I just played for you, Tony Mathis, these doozies. One, investigators have obtained a new video showing Sebastian alive on February 26th when he disappeared. Nope. So that's not true. I just want to show you the receipts that what Tony is telling you is not true. Next, he addresses this one. There's evidence showing Sebastian was in contact with his grandmother on his mother's side. So that would be Katie Proudfoot, right before he disappeared. Nope. Not true. How do I know? How does he know? He says, I have been in direct contact with the lead investigator with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, who says the latest stuff is quote unquote garbage. All garbage. This is the lead investigator from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. So what Tony Mathis is telling all of us is all garbage. Would they like to have new leads? You bet. They respond to all the tips, but they deal with facts as I do. Do authorities tell us everything they have in the case? And I'm going to talk about Chris and Katie Proudfoot in just a second, so please stay with me. They won't lie. So do authorities tell us everything they have in the case file? No, they don't. But he knows these people. He works with them. Nick is local. He says and he's talking about law enforcement, won't lie and say something is false if it isn't. They will simply say no comment. And then he goes on to say, for leads, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. And I'm just going to put this right here because this is who this whole case is about. But ever since Tony inserted himself into this case, it has been a dumpster fire. Are you watching closely? And I'm going to talk about the Proudfoots in just a second. I have some information regarding them that I want to update you guys on in just a second. Let me just say hello to chat. I feel like I've been so rude to the chat. I'm so sorry. Piper says this case isn't about Sebastian anymore. It's about who did what to who to look worse. Yeah, I agree. Seth needs to go back to just being Sebastian. Yes, Seth did a great job advocating for himself, right? He did. I'm always going to believe Trevor, says Red Mama. Elaine says, this case is a mess. I thought Seth didn't want to work with Tony anymore. I have not heard that. I have not heard Seth say that. Thank you to all our mods, by the way, and awesome. You guys have kept the chat so classy. To everybody who's up here in the top chat, thank you so much to all of you guys, our channel members, our mods, and our awesome subscribers. Just Breathe Joy says, I believe Trevor is too honest to be accused of this garbage. Exactly. So who's been caught bold-faced lying to us? Who's been caught bold-faced lying to us? That would be this guy in your upper left-hand corner. Bold-faced lying to you. Bold-faced lying to you. Joanne, in my opinion, don't come for me. Joanne says, Seth needs to go up to Chris and say, where's my son? Pam says, reminiscent, well, you know. Oh, well, it's to somebody else. Lady says, I feel so sorry for Sebastian. That's it. Seth should have had a child by a grown-up, and maybe his son would be better cared for. Marcia says, dear Tony, please don't take it personally, but you need to go because professionally you just don't cut it. You're fired, in my opinion. Green hearts for Sebastian. Yeah, I think he does. But at the very least, I think that Trevor Lee, I hope by putting this out here that Trevor Lee can feel confident that a law has been broken. A law has been broken, and he needs to go to law enforcement and report this. This is blackmail is serious, and law enforcement will take it very seriously. Louise says, Seth said on the Pascal show for about a few weeks ago that he was the one who sent that recording. He asked for it from the private investigator. So we've got ones in the chat who think that Seth is being gaslit. Dirk says, Seth seems to be pushing anyone who gets too close like he has something inside. I don't think it's Seth that's pushing everybody away. I think it's Tony Mathis, in my opinion. But you guys are entitled to yours. I'm not saying you're wrong, Dirk. I don't know. This is my opinion, and just watching how everything unfolded, seeing that little image of Chris pop up. I think that he was posing as Chris Proudfoot in that chat. The sky exactly matches the same sky and weather and tree that's in the background when Seth is on camera. And I think Tony was going to jump on the panel as himself and forgot he was logged into Smiley's chat as Chris. And that's really shady, you guys. That is really shady. To be posing as Chris Proudfoot is really shady. Hey, Jody. So Dina Lynn says, I believe Trevor, he's telling the truth. In my opinion, he's earned a lot of respect from the community. Thank you so much, because I wanted to clear Trevor's name today. Thank you so much for joining our poll. If you think that Seth Rogers was gaslit by Tony Mathis to come on hot and go on to Smiley's and go after Trevor Lee by Tony Mathis, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that Seth got himself worked up all by himself, put a 2 in the chat. And then I'm going to share you guys some important new information from regarding the Proudfoots. So we got a lot of ones. I see 1, 2. A lot of ones. Trixie says, Trevor Lee is the most upstanding young man I have ever met. He is a great man. Cajun said, this is why Chloe wanted to vet the people wanting to get involved with Seth. Right. And who was getting in between this guy who's on your screen right here? This guy, you're the host of this chat, who's spreading this nonsense. Who's getting in between him and the national stage? Trevor and Chloe were, because Chloe wanted to run a background check on everybody. He doesn't want a background check. Lisa put a 1. Hoot 3 has a 1. We got a lot of 1s, you guys. Who is blackmailing? You'll have to back up the chat. Tony, in my opinion, was blackmailing Trevor Lee, and I just showed you guys the receipt, so you can back this up and look at it. I don't want to do it again because we just did it. If you're just joining me, back up the chat. You guys missed something really, really important. A lot of 1s. I only saw 1, 2. Elaine says, poor Trevor. He was almost crying. Yeah. Can you imagine how humiliating it would be? First of all, how scared you would be as Chloe, she's a young woman also, and Trevor Lee, how scary it would be. And Chloe has a PI license to protect her livelihoods at stake. To have this guy, make sure I'm pointing the right way, having this guy, Tony Mathis, with all, he's like got a Sebastian's army, right? He's building an army of people. To have this guy blackmailing you and telling you, if you don't do what I want you to do, if you don't stop doing this, I'm going to blame this leaked audio of Chris Proudfoot on you. I showed you the legal definition of blackmail. If you're just joining me, definitely back up the chat because you missed something really good. But I have more stuff to dig into, so maybe you want to watch this and then back it up. Dormia says, Seth, please wake up and get rid of Tony and the friends of his. Get references and reliable recommendations. Thank you so much for saying that, Dormika. From honest sources, Tony and his bunch are going to ruin your reputation. Yeah, Tony's going to drag Seth down with him. Thank you so much for modding, you guys. And Sarah's Black, all you guys who are in here modding, thank you so much. Casey says, Kansas City coming in here. Thanks for the wonderful channel. Thank you. Stormcat says, this is terrible. Judy said, none of this back and forth playing games isn't illegal. The blackmailing is illegal. That's why I wanted to show you that. Autism GMA says, thanks for doing this. It's the least I can do. I feel really bad. I just wanted to get in there and clear Trevor. I wanted to clear Trevor. And when I started watching back, like everything, I watched all of the interactions with Smiley. Then I watched last night, allegedly with Brittany, and she had thought that background was Chris Proudfoot that entered the chat for a second, that she thought it was Tony. I went back and looked at that. Then I went back to the lab to listen to Josh and his conversation with Trevor Lee. And then I looked up, that sounds like blackmail. To me, that sounds like blackmail. I looked up the definition of blackmail. It does fit the legal definition. Brother Mike says that Tony needs to go. Dormika says she agrees with you. Joanne says she agrees with you, Dormika. Leda X says the way. Sorry if I'm like, ooh, but I was like so nervous to come on with this, you guys. Whenever I did, like when I did the expose on the Alex Murdaugh too, I was so nervous to do it because it is really scary when you have somebody that's willing to blackmail somebody and ruin their reputation, which is what Tony Mathis was doing, in my opinion, to Trevor Lee and Chloe, PI Chloe. And you're willing to do that. It just makes me wonder, like, is there any links he would not go to? Lady X says the way Seth was speaking and acting, mocking Trevor, it was indicative of a tiny man. I just feel like we have somebody who's very vulnerable. I don't know, but I'm not going to tell you guys what to think. You guys can decide for yourselves. Minnie says, I really think that Seth should fire Tony right now. And A says, fire Tony. Wake up, Seth. Thank you so much for all your great work today, and Jazz. Please give this a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that I have been within YouTube's terms of service the whole time, because you know that this guy is going to use sock puppet accounts to try to come after me. That's why I emailed YouTube before I went live. Trevor is so humble. Yes, he is. He is a fine person. And Chloe is too. Chloe is too. Neither one of them deserved to be blackmailed. Nobody deserved to be blackmailed. CKJ says, honestly, I find everything I'm going to try to calm myself down. Let me just, because I was really scared to come live. CKJ says, honestly, I find everything with this case, everyone involved, very concerning. All of this tumultuous dealings. How is anyone supposed to find Sebastian? Right. Find the front door. Well, it's starting. The root of the problem is right on my screen. It's right here. This is the root of the problems. This is the gaslighter. This is the, in my opinion, the manipulator behind all of this. Has Tony been to jail or something? He has felonies. He has felonies. JLR showed his felonies. If you guys don't have to take my word for it. JLR showed it. Marcia says no second chances in certain cases, because I think JLR was trying to sound the alarm. Yeah, no caps, guys. Keep it classy. Poor Trevor. Yeah, can you imagine how awful it would be to be Chloe and Trevor and to have your reputation, and Trevor's, all he does is advocate for missing young people, and Chloe, all she was trying to do was do her job, and to have your integrity impugned on TV in front of thousands of people. So I just was like, I'm going to dig into this so I can figure out what is going on. And when I went back and looked at everything, and I'm watching Josh's face, I'm like, Josh knows. He knows. He knows. Lady X says, he was so tough with Trev. But we all saw Chris back him up against his own truck. Yeah. DM says, what is the motive for the blackmail? Because he has felonies. Chloe wanted, okay, so the motive would be reputation, right? If you have a private investigator that's insisting to your client, right? Seth, hey, Seth, I'm your private investigator. I want to run background checks on everybody, and you don't have to take my word for it. Seth tells you this on Smiley's channel. He tells all of us that this, that he let Chloe go because she wanted to run background checks on everybody. Yeah, God forbid that when we're looking for a missing person, that Chloe, has a license to protect, would want to run background checks. So who didn't want a background check run on him? This guy right here, this guy. So the motive is getting in between this guy and the national stage. Since he's been trying to build himself a platform for true crime since 2022, he tried to insert himself into the Idaho 4 case. Now he got his hooks into Seth, and I feel so badly for Seth. I just hope that people understand that Seth is very vulnerable right now. Very, very vulnerable. And I'm going to share some stuff with you guys about the Proudfoots. I have some updates on that too. Domika said, Trevor, dust off the mud and stand up and carry on. Heck yeah. I love that. Kelly Bird said, is Seth allowed to hang with Tony here in Georgia? If we work in the prisons, we can't hang out with felons. I don't know. And I don't know if Seth has plans to go back to his job or if he's going to stay. I mean, his son is missing, so he doesn't want to leave. Cajun Juju says, no second chance at the expense of Sebastian. Yep. I agree, you guys. That's why I wanted to put everything together for you guys. Addie says, I think the recording on another channel first. I heard the recording on another channel first, and then the lab right after. I believe this was leaked to multiple people at the same time. Well, they were there. So here's what happened with that recording. Okay. It was released, I believe, by Tony Mathis. I think he used a sock puppet account to send it out, possibly. So maybe they didn't know who it was, or maybe they did, or maybe it was Seth. Maybe he used an account that looks like Seth's. I don't know. But I believe that Tony, this is my opinion, I believe that Tony leaked it. I think Josh knew. And they were told to hold on to it for a few days. They wanted this recording to come out in conjunction with Nina Gomez and that custody dispute between Chris Proudfoot and Nina over Faith. So that's why they were. It came out at the same time for multiple content creators because they were told to hold. This is what Josh tells us from the lab. Josh tells us. Let me just put him back up here. Josh tells us that he was told to hold on to this. Let me just back this up a little bit. You guys, this is just so this guy inserting himself into it. And that's why I wanted to play that little clip, the beginning clip. You can watch the whole video. Josh has it up on the lab. Encyclopedia of True Crime and the Unknown says Seth is being taken advantage of. Anyone that's gotten involved and making videos on social media showing anything that is just drama doesn't help. Well, you know what? It may not help finding Sebastian, but I am not going to sit here quietly and allow Tony Mathis to impugn the reputation of someone who spends their time, donates their time advocating for children. So if that's going to bother you, that I'm going to advocate for Trevor Lee or I'm going to advocate for Chloe because I think getting blackmailed is against the law, then, you know, I don't know what to tell you. It does take away from it, but this isn't me taking away from this. I didn't do this. I'm just exposing it because that's what I do. I am just exposing the BS and the fact that we are being lied to and gaslit, you guys. And we deserve credible information. Seth was doing fine when it was just Seth. He was doing just fine, advocating for Sebastian. Trixie says, Kelly Bird, I'm wondering if they would think of him bringing in all the felons. Well, we already know he's trying to bring in Nina Glass. He was on TikTok. Tony was trying to get $2,500, which to fix her car so she could come and search. And she has felonies. Her felony, she's on probation right now for shooting a gun at a teenager. This is Nina Glass, not to be confused with Nina Gomez. Nina Glass, for shooting a gun at a teenager. And the bullet went through an apartment, a neighboring apartment. And this is who Tony Mathis wants to bring on to replace Trevor Lee and Chloe and Heather? No. This is me advocating for Sebastian. Mandy says, because I feel like if Tony stays with Seth, something will happen. Yeah, I'm worried about Seth. I'm really worried. He is being gaslit and manipulated. Green Eye says, and he had an FBI video about Lawson investigating. He's playing with danger. Trev is not Trevor, just saying they are two different people. Trev, you're talking about Trev, I know. I'm talking about Trevor Lee. That's who I'm talking about. I'm showing his picture right here for y'all to look at. This is Trevor. Sorry, on mine, it's on this side, but facing the thing, he's over here. So Trevor Lee is sitting to your right of Josh. So that is Trev time. And I believe he's the one that conducted the interview with Nina Gomez, right? And we're going to talk about the Proudfoots. I have some stuff on them too. Let me check in with chat because I don't want to ignore the chat. You guys were kind enough to show up for me. Please hit that thumbs up on your way in. Tony has a license? No. The private investigators have a license. Great question. People are making videos and making money off the situation, should be donating their proceeds to the search well, just so you know, almost every single video that I have made on this situation has been demonetized. So I'm sorry, but I don't know what to tell you. I am doing my best to get the information out here. I emailed YouTube ahead of time because I thought I am going to get targeted by Tony Mathis because he went after Nick Barris right away. He tried to blackmail Trevor and Chloe, and I emailed YouTube and just gave him a heads up ahead of time because I'm like, this is bad. I'm scared. I'm scared, but I'm still gonna say it. Trev time is Trevor. He has serious people wanting. Yeah, exactly. Jilly Lane says Tony tried to center stage Seth. Yeah, he wants to sit there and hold Seth's hand and tell Seth what he can and can't say. Seth does not need Tony. Tony needs Seth, but Seth needs friends. You know, he's lonely. He's isolated, so it made him a really easy target. Sneaking in late. You're going to want to back it up because I have been going through a lot of stuff. All this is politics. It isn't though. It isn't, though, because we're being gaslit and we're being told lies. It isn't politics. This does directly relate to Sebastian. It does, because we're being told lies by, let me just pull it up, this guy sitting here lying to us. And if he's in the chat posing as Chris Proudfoot, that's some next level manipulation right there. So it's not just politics, guys. Seth said, gave it to the lab. Why be so upset with Trevor? Shouldn't be angry with Tony. Should be angry with Tony. Yeah, I agree, Joanne. You're right. So it's okay. So that Nina makes more sense to me. Good. I'm glad I could clear that up for you guys. I'm like, this, for those of you saying this isn't, yeah, I want to get back to finding Sebastian too. I do too. But having somebody enter the case with the whole purpose of giving us false information about the Proudfoots, leaking that audio of Chris Proudfoot, and it doesn't make Chris look good, and it doesn't take back any of the things about Chris Proudfoot, but then saying that Katie Proudfoot mom was texting with Sebastian the night before, which is just a bold-faced lie. Law enforcement, Sumner County Sheriff's lead investigator, said it's garbage. Their words, not mine. So yeah, I agree. Sorry if I'm like excited. I'm just this has been so stressful digging into I've been looking into this now for 2 days, ever since I saw this Trevor just getting dragged. I just started, and then I just started digging into everything, and just all the pieces started coming together, that this is so much more than what we knew. And getting this sorted out is important to finding Sebastian, because the private investigators who were our best chance, in my opinion, of finding Sebastian have been removed. Seth tells us in his own words that when Chloe left, she took the searchers with her. She didn't take them with her, although I am really confident that this guy, in my opinion, probably told Seth that, or Seth came to that conclusion by himself. But she didn't take anybody with her. She just had searchers that didn't want to be part of this dumpster fire. They don't want to be associated with Tony Mathis. Yeah, please help me out. Let YouTube know that we're doing good work by hitting the thumbs button, because I know I'm going to have sock puppet accounts trying to bother me. Thank you so much, Brother Mike. I worked really hard on this, you guys, because I care about Trevor, because I care about Sebastian, because I care about Chloe, because I care about the truth. And we can't get to the bottom of everything that's happening when we're being gaslit and lied to. So, yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please help me out. Subscribe, join our family. It's a nice group. For a week, yeah, he did that to Trevor. So Trevor had to sit there. I mean, I feel so badly for him. He had to sit there while he's being completely gaslit by this guy who had to jump in to get on camera, and that I believe was posing as Chris Proudfoot in Smiley's chat that day. I can't prove that part, but that's my opinion, just because the background looks the same. So yeah, this is so sad about Sebastian. I agree. Love thinks that Tony is a crooked sneak. Trixie says Tony was 100% the one who went in and said they were going to go on Smiley's in an hour. This was all planned out to try to discredit Trevor, all coordinated by Tony. And see, that is just a next level diabolical, you guys. That is next level diabolical. And then to release that tape, to plan to release it on the day that Chris Proudfoot has his hearing regarding Nina Gomez, that's just like next level, you guys. Yeah, Stormcat's like, look at Trevor's face. Breaks my heart. Tony would pick on somebody he doesn't know. Yeah, and the motivation is because he doesn't want his background exposed. JLR exposed it already. Green Eye says Trev only had it because he was on the team secretly. Only had what? He didn't have it. He didn't have it. The PI says she knows who it was. Josh knows who he got it from. Do you think Josh would be up here? Do you think Josh would be up here standing up for Trevor Lee if he didn't know what was going on? You could see him putting the pieces together, in my opinion. I don't know if he put everything together. I don't know, because I don't know what that email looked like where he, or how he received this recording. But I would love to know more. Prime Paula says Nina is a felon. She shot at a teenager for arguing with her daughter over another teenager. Right, Stephen. I don't know. Seth. I don't know if Seth does. I think it's Tony. But I mean, we can agree to disagree on that. Green Eye says, then tell his mama to get him out of these missing kids' business. Deborah says, this got so messy, they all need to stay off social media. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. Tony has his hooks into Seth, and I don't think he's going to let go anytime soon. I wish, Deborah. I really do. Hey, Halfway. Halfway says, bullying a 20-year-old. Yep. Who's just helping. Saints Rocket Dolls, yes, it does. Trevor needs to do it immediately. Yeah, he needs to go to law enforcement and report this as blackmail because, as I showed you earlier, this is a crime. So let's talk about the Proudfoots for a second. So I do have some stuff on that. I just didn't want to be rude to the chat either. But I did want to get into everything because are you watching closely? Because all of this affects looking for Sebastian. If somebody's out there claiming that Sebastian was, and telling Seth that Sebastian was texting with Katie's mother, is just another way to drive a wedge between Seth and the Proudfoots. And I think that Tony's been doing everything he can to isolate Seth, driving a wedge between Katie. And this is what narcissistic people do. They try to use a wedge to drive a wedge between you and everyone around you that cares about you. I'm not saying that the Proudfoots care about Seth, but they were going to all work together. Remember that day? So, all right. So I have some important updates regarding the Proudfoots too. First of all, on any high profile case, you're going to get wackadoodle-doos coming out of the woodwork to insert themselves into the case, trying to get attention for themselves, trying to get publicity from themselves. I think that Tony, we were seeing him coming out. We also saw Stephanie, the dog handler, and now I'm learning that the neighbor that came to say that Sebastian was sleeping in the garage might be a fake poser trying to insert themselves into this case. So I am not able to independently confirm whether this is a neighbor or not, but if and when I am, I will bring it to you. So do we have another creepy weirdo trying to insert themselves into the case? And I want to update you guys because you guys deserve credible information. So supposedly this neighbor said that Sebastian was sleeping in the garage and that Chris was spraying him with a pressure hose, calling him the R word, and they turned over the video to TBI. So I don't know if this is another whack job trying to get themselves into the case or if this really is a neighbor. But I just want to just give you guys what I do know, which is that I still feel like there are problems with the Proudfoots because we still have these CPS reports. We still have, and I'm asking, a lot of people have been asking me what would be a motive to do anything to Sebastian in their home because he was going to be going to Seth's house at the end of after the school year ended. And I'm not saying they did anything. It could have been an argument and he ran out the door. And I think this is such a good question, but in my opinion, there is a motive here. And it's because if there were multiple CPS calls, which is what Seth claims to the Proudfoot home, this is according to Seth Rogers, who says he has seen these reports but could not release them, which is against the law. And I did confirm that it is against the law. Would somebody have been worried about what Sebastian might tell Seth or might tell his new friends at school or his new friends in his new household? Was somebody worried about a custody case? So let's remember, we are looking for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, a 15-year-old with sandy blonde hair, 120 pounds, wearing glasses, wearing a black shirt, a black Adidas style pants with a white stripe, no shoes. He's autistic. He disappeared February 26th from inside his own home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And Chris and Katie Proudfoot They've claimed that they couldn't help with the search because they had to wait at home in case Sebastian came home. But then Katie left the house and went camping with Chris Proudfoot. Please, somebody make that make sense. We thought they were out here shopping for motorcycles because they were maybe going to do this rally. That was the excuse that, some people were, trying to think of something positive to say here. But they did not participate in the bike rally for Sebastian yesterday, guys. They didn't come out and speak at the prayer vigil. They didn't do any of those things. And I'm just really, really worried about what's going to happen with Seth Rogers. What is going to happen? I do want to thank, let me pull this down. Well, the producers, let me just show that one more time. I do this every time. I show this every time with that up. I do want to thank our producers, George Brown, and Jazz, Energy Shots, Angry Mons, Not So Saintly, Sasha Angel, and Deb is also one of our new producers. And I don't know. And I want to also thank our channel members. If you would like to have your name appear in all of my live streams and my videos, you can hit the join button. It's next to the subscribe button. But you know what? Just subscribing helps a lot. Just subscribing. It's free and it helps me out a lot. So thank you to all our channel members. We do have a new producer. And that's Debbie Joe. I thought so. Yeah, Debbie Joe. So I just wanted to shout out Debbie Joe. Thank you so much. And thank you for your super sticker. Super thanks, you guys. And your channel memberships. I really appreciate you guys. Your PayPal gratitude. Thank you so much for all you guys do. I really do appreciate it. I am saving up for a new computer. So that would really help a lot. So thank you for that. So I do want to just take a few more comments. We're not done. Let me run Sebastian under here. Let me see if I have a picture of him. Let me take this down so I could show Sebastian. There. Okay, so there he is. So let's do so. I want to take some comments, some questions, anything you guys want to share. Let's do that together. I was going to do Riley Strain today, but I'm going to do a video. I put a video out of him instead because we don't have the Steve Fisher, who's the PI in charge of the Riley Strain case, just got back, but he hasn't released anything to us yet. So I was hoping we were going to learn something today. So I put up the live stream, but I moved it to Wednesday. I want to have some information for you guys because I just didn't have anything new to add on this. Gymnastics 101 says, I think Sebastian going through puberty and finding his voice was majorly stressing that marriage. No, I'm absolutely not. I feel my heart breaks for Seth. Bob Williams says, this poor child wasn't enough already hard enough for him without having these so-called parents. Phil Satori Phoenix says, blackmail is against the law and so is intimidation. Exactly. Marcia says, in Texas, a felon cannot vote. All felons have got to go. Spirit says, Seth is innocent, but you can say the name. You can say the same thing with your background stating you need locking up. I need to be locked up. I don't, you want to clarify that, Spirit, before you get booted out of my chat forever? Because that's some next level creepy post. If you're aiming that at me, if you're talking to somebody else, then let me know what's going on with that. Who were the CPS calls on? Well, Seth says that they were called. There were multiple calls to the Proudfoot home. Rich Buddy says, one thing's for sure. If we know anyone who ends up missing, I will advise family not to seek YouTube help. Okay. I think we've done a really good job of getting Sebastian's name and image out there. I don't think this case would be national if it wasn't for the social media community. I Am Bear says, after Smiley, no one will take Tony chat message seriously. I hope not. But Nick Barris tried to come out and say it. And Tony, instead of just owning it and saying he was sorry, he just went after Nick Barris and tried to trash him. Karen says, I would like to know if that's true too. I'm wondering if Katie has dissociated due to her. I don't know if she has any mental issues. I don't think she has any mental issues that I've ever been told of. Jackie says, Tony was trying to get in touch with another family. Harley Morris missing from Texas. He's a glory hunter. Oh, wow. Cece says that house was the only house blacked out on just that night. Conveniently did not have working cameras. Yeah, okay, so the truth will come out. Truth matters. How come nobody here showed up to the vigil for my boy? Who is your boy? And how do you know that nobody showed up? Is that you, Seth? Is that you, Seth? How about I not only shared your vigil in multiple Facebook groups, but I attended virtually. Michelle says, pure evil people leeching of a father and manipulating for the benefit. This is about a child. I agree. Rich Buddy says, in my opinion, everyone involved is crazy. No exceptions. Oh, wow. Unique Boutique says, does the truth matter is Seth? Yeah, I don't know. It has this picture, but it could just be somebody trolling as him also. So I don't know. What about the CPS calls on Seth? I've never heard of any CPS calls on Seth. I have not found any credible information on that. I am too bear. Oh, looky, there's a dude being, yeah, I know that it's probably just a troll, you guys. I think Seth would put his own name in the chat. Cece says, Katie Proudfoot and CB, are you talking about, I don't know who CB is, switch cars. Oh, I saw that theory, but I haven't found any evidence to support that. Can't set record straight on a list. Tony backed. I don't know who Truth Matters is, but I'm gonna I think it's somebody posing as Seth using his photo. Because I just think if Seth Rogers was going to come in, I think he would enter as his own self. Mara says the truth cannot be stopped now. It has everything to do with the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. Those involved owe a great karmic debt, and so it is. Welcome, Leslie. Lisa says, I care for my father with dementia. I'm in Tennessee. And the second I can get away, I will. Spirit says, I feel for Seth, but not Tony. He is making this whole thing about him. He is trying to get all the YouTube channels taken down, in my opinion, just so he's the only one left. Yeah. And he's trying to drive a wedge, in my opinion, between Seth and everybody around Seth. From Chloe to Heather to Trevor Lee, anybody that was, and the Proudfoots too, releasing that audio. I think it was a coordinated effort. From what I heard, all lied. That's Lisa's opinion. Thumbs up. Thanks, Bob, for the thumbs up. Well, we can do it to raise awareness, though, too. And I think it did do a good job. I mean, it does raise awareness. Although it was covered on multiple papers, it gets, Sebastian's name and photo out there. Louise says, if it is Seth, hopefully he's listening. Con men are narcissistic and don't care who they hurt to gain their stage. These type of people are dangerous and will leave Seth holding the bag. Yeah, I'm worried about that too. And I am genuinely worried about Seth. I truly am. I feel like he's in a position where, he's being cut off from everybody that cares about him and supports him. Wedges he wanted to align with the Proudfoots and have Tony be the spokesperson for both, but yet this big division happens. That was his goal of bringing Tony Mathis on. But that's not what's happening. And so we have a spokesperson who's out there telling us nonsense, telling us that Katie Proudfoot's mother was texting with Sebastian. Not true. Blackmailing Trevor Lee and Chloe, in my opinion. He didn't want his background out there. Carrie says, Chris Proudfoot claims they were cleared. Not true. No one has been cleared of this case. I truly believe Seth, but Katie Proudfoot shopping for a bike while Sebastian is missing is a huge red flag. Bridget says, Tony was supposed to calm everything down and said he is. Yeah, I agree. I think there's some major gaslighting going on. Unique Boutique says the vigil was live streamed, so a lot of people were there. Yeah, a lot of us that could not attend in person attended virtually. And a lot of us shared it. I shared it into 2 different Facebook groups, 2 different social media. I shared that vigil. Anna Chakra says, we prayed, passed out flyers, shared videos, donated money. We live out and far away from Tennessee. We care and are doing what we can. Hey, Arlene. Arlene says, everybody, please have some compassion for Seth. He is so broken and wants to find his son, Sebastian. Yeah, I agree. Sarah says, can everyone please hit the like button and the subscribe button? That would probably help me out just in light of everything. I'm going to get probably a dumpster fire after this, just in seeing what they did to Trevor Lee and Chloe, seeing what Tony did to him. Penny said, I don't trust Seth. Too many distractions regarding this case. In my opinion, I feel like he's taking everyone on a wild goose chase. Debbie says, vigils are supposed to be for people. I think it's okay to have a vigil to raise awareness. I think it's okay. It does raise awareness. CJK says, did a local news channel speak with Seth today? I read that in the face. I don't know. I've been preparing for this live stream, so I don't know. Constance says, Tony, are you getting paid to be Seth's friend, like a rent-a-friend? I thought you weren't being paid to be PR. I'm confused. I think what Tony's trying to do is build himself an army, trying to build himself a national platform. That's his dream. And Seth is his stepping stone to that. Sebastian is his stepping stone to that. Carrie says, I cried seeing Seth outburst the other day. He is broken. I feel his pain. Yeah, it was really sad. It was very upsetting. It was very upsetting. Bridget says, I have compassion for all of Sebastian's family, but more for Sebastian. I think that's pretty much sums it up, right? Thanks, Anjaz. Sebastian coverage is dwindling. People are moving on. They require drama. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it dwindling. I feel like we have had, good coverage. But when we're having to sort through nonsense to get the facts out there and we're being gaslit and lied to, I think that is a problem. Prayers abound for Sebastian. I love that enlightened fawn. Leslie says, we can agree to disagree like adults if you don't have to be here. It's okay if this makes you uncomfortable. I expect to get some backlash from Tony Mathis. Sharon says, that is how a case should be run. Seth, look at the Riley Strain family. Right, exactly. They're doing a really good job of, they got whatever they got from the toxicology. They hired a lawyer, and beyond that, we don't know. Jackie says he said she will be here by Saturday. Okay. Is that Nina Glass? Marcia says, what an absolute brilliant show. Thank you. Thank you so much. Cece says, I think Sebastian was going to help Nina get custody of Faith, and Chris Proudfoot wasn't having it. I don't know. Kay says, I feel like the law hypothesized the Proudfoot and they would find, I'm not sure. I feel like the law hypothesized, hypnotized the Proudfoots. Oh, you want law enforcement to hypnotize that? They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. Celine says Trev needs to file charges. I think he does. Oh, that wasn't for me. Thanks to you so much. I wasn't sure like what that was. I thought it probably wasn't. No, Tony does. I was saying that Seth is fine, but Tony is not. Thanks for clarifying that, Spirit. I wanted to get a clarification because I didn't think you had anything, but I wasn't sure because I was like totally expecting to get backlash from today's live stream. And the same thing happened when I did the Alex Murdaugh case. I did a deep dive into following the money. I did several big reports on that, and every time I did, I felt very, very anxious and stressed. I had trouble sleeping the night before. And I feel the same way about this video. Louise says, I hope everyone believes Trevor and Chloe. If Tony is doing this, it's time for the FBI to step in. Thank you, Arlene. Mara says, Seth is an old soul with a grand mission. He is divinely protected by the archangels. No one that is not of the light cannot come near Seth. Thank you for sharing that. Deb says, Chris is the only person that knows exactly where Sebastian is. Peach says, 3 people living in that home. Who were the CPS calls on? Right. Lomax says, vigils are not only, vigils could be to raise awareness. And I think it's great. It did raise awareness. It did. Hey, Kami. Kami says, thank you for being here. Please be respectful in the chat. Hit that like button and consider subscribing to receive up-to-date information on this case. If you're looking for credible information on this case, I am here to bring you all the information. I don't try to tell my subscribers what they should believe, what they shouldn't believe. I just am going to bring you all the information so you guys can make up your own mind of what you think is going on. But I did want to advocate for Trevor today and Chloe, because I just feel like they just didn't deserve that. Selena says, I agree. Seth is fine. Tony is a lying misinformation spreader. And that's Selena's opinion. Okay. Darcy said, the only victim in this is Sebastian. That's the one I feel badly for. Yeah, I just feel really like, really bad for him also. Anae says, a grateful-hearted person would be thanking people instead of trying to downgrade or spouting off about attending a vigil. Yep. And Jazz, I see it. Just go ahead and if we have people posing as people, just go ahead and take them out. And Jazz, this is our head mod, and Jazz. And let me know if I need to slow the chat down a little bit. Debbie says vigils are held in the UK, and that, different cultures have different things. Did Katie leave Chris? Nope. You need to back it up, Rob. back up the live stream so you can see what it's about. Yeah, if truth matters, why are you picking on Trevor? It's probably a sock puppet account, Bridget. It's a troll. Yeah, exactly. It's a troll account trying to pretend they're Seth, trying to get attention for themselves. We've seen a lot of weird people entering this case trying to get attention for themselves. Spirit says, I lit a candle for Sebastian and prayed for him. Not everyone could get there to the vigil. Exactly. Cece said, how would he know if we attended or didn't virtually? Whatever. It's not Seth. I just don't think it is. Donna said, Tony is not. It's not defamation if it's true. She has receipts for everything she speaks of. Yep. I showed my receipts. We don't even know who's who. You're welcome, Anae. Anae says, thank you for covering this. Tony needs to go back to Oklahoma and stay out of this. Lisa said, I would lose my mind if my child was missing. HDC, that's me, says, I think everyone should remember that Seth is going through the grief process and anger is a part of that. He needs grace. Donna says, Seth, are you watching closely? Praying hard for you, sweet man. Bridget says, Tony baloney be gone. Sharon says, I think Sebastian ran away and a bad actor grabbed him. The other options make my heart break. Marjorie gives a heart for Sebastian. Michelle says, to you, Selena, she agrees. Selena says that's exactly what Tony is doing. By Crime says, don't guilt trip people for not coming to the vigil. Phil Satari says, Seth has every right to feel however he feels, but please don't bleed all over the people who are trying to help you. Leslie just says, mods are doing, yeah, please give the mods a thank you, you guys. They're working hard in here. They're the ones with the wrenches and trying to keep it classy. Thank you. Jackie says, how can a woman on disability, she's talking about Nina Glass here, with back surgery, neuro surgery, and the rest, look for a missing child? I don't know. And I think she's on probation, so I'm not sure, is she allowed to come down? I don't know. So I don't even know if that fundraiser is legit or not. I have no idea, you guys. It could be. I don't know. Hey, April, welcome. Thank you so much for subscribing to Reporter Room. I really appreciate you. And Jazz is welcoming you, April. Cece says, Seth is being highly manipulated and it's very sad. It is very painful to watch. Gilf Hunter says, I'm looking to recruit 7 women for a movie. No thanks. Doesn't really have anything to do with this case or what we're talking about. I Am Bear says, I will never go to a vigil Tony is a part of. I will watch it online, YouTube, not TikTok. I can understand. I saw other people, content creators who run big chat rooms supporting Sebastian that donate their time. Because again, these chat rooms are run by volunteers. Nobody gets paid on Facebook to run these groups. That donated their time, that were scared to go to the vigil yesterday. Scared of being retaliated against if they didn't want to kowtow to what Tony is saying. And this goes back to blackmail and the fact that it is against the law to blackmail people. Cheryl says, Seth is brokenhearted and desperate to find his son. He must be extremely stressed out. He needs our support and prayers. Jenny says, I am praying for Seth and Sebastian. Almost welcomes you, April. Louise says, in my opinion, Tony is also ruining this community. I am new to true crime YouTube community. I enjoy it so much. Do the right thing and back away. Marie says, come on, people, see the truth. For one con men. Is that what you're saying? For one con man, I think is what she's saying. Cece says, and Tony was happy about that division. Shaking my head. There's nobody more full of it than Tony Mathis. These are just our chats, sharing our opinions. Everything we're all sharing is our opinions. Michelle says, Jackie, exactly. We can't be disability. You can't get disability. She's about Nina Glass here. So Nina Glass is on probation for shooting at a teenager. And she's on disability for multiple back surgeries and knee surgeries. We know this because she talked about not wanting to pay the full fine or whatever her financial restitution was for her crime of shooting off this gun at a teenager. So she's a little bit unhinged, but Tony Mathis wanted $2,500 or $2,000+ to be raised for her for gas money and a truck repair. So she can come hike around, but she can work. And I don't know, you guys, that, that's up to you guys if you want to support that or not. I wish we, could move forward with professional licensed people because I think that's our best chance to find Sebastian. Pepper says, Seth closed the GoFundMe 2 weeks ago. That vigil was not a money-making scheme. Thank you for sharing that, Pepper. Barb says, I'd be in favor of a dump Tony petition. How do we open Seth's eyes? I can't. I don't have the ability to do that. That's Seth is a grown man. He'll have to work that out himself. I wish the only thing I wanted to do was just expose the blackmail because that's against the law. It's illegal to do that to people. I hope that law enforcement will get involved because, this guy is a convicted felon. It does make me really, really worried. Spirit says, put Sebastian flyers up at Heathrow Airport just to make people aware of him. I don't know how long they will leave them up, but at least I'm doing something more. Yeah, coming on and harassing people. Thank you for that, Spirit 8. And just the same, please be respectful in the chat. Well, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. Arlene says, how was the vigil? I don't think they were raising money at the vigil. I don't think they were. I don't think that's what they were doing. But I don't know. But seeing all of this go down in this way is just concerning. It really is a concern, you guys. So are you watching closely? And I just want to just credit SmileyStorey and the lab. And if you want to join the Reporter Room family, please consider subscribing to the channel. We would love to have you. Absolutely love to have you as part of this channel. And if you could give this a thumbs up, it will help me with the algorithm. I am going to have, issues. So if you want to help support me by just subscribing, that would be great. If you don't want to, that's fine also, but it will really help me. And consider giving this a thumbs up, letting YouTube know that we have completely complied with terms of service. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.